is really to celebrate all the things that happen within the city, to encourage people to connect with not just green spaces, but open spaces of all different types, to connect with the culture of the city and get out and, I guess, see the city with new eyes and enjoy it, as well as encouraging people to take new action and activity related to connecting some of those things together. We've got so many friends of groups, the council themselves, the various different councils, in fact, because I'm not necessarily just talking about Glasgow City Council, the city region is a lot wider than that. We've got huge numbers of individuals who use the parks and green spaces and celebrate them, but it's very difficult quite often to bring all those people together and sort of show the joint impact that we have and show also why it's so important. And I think that's another big important thing. It's not just about celebrating, it's really making a strong case for why this is so important and that we need more of it and we need better protection and improvements, as well as equally celebrating the fantastic things that we've already got, because I think in many ways we're really, really lucky. And during COVID, I think that's all been very apparent to lots of people, the importance of people's local spaces, green spaces, access to that has been really important. I can certainly speak for myself, and I think I speak for a lot of people on the call when I say how important that's been. And that's one of the things we wanted to celebrate really with this new gallery. So we sought out some photographers, people who we knew via Twitter, people who we knew in real life occasionally, one or two of them, who we knew took photos of Glasgow, and we thought reflected some interesting things about this whole idea of a national park city. In the old world, we would have tried to hire a venue and put the photos up somewhere in public and get people to come along. But in some ways, one of the small advantages, I guess, of this new way of working is we've been able to put this together quite quickly and bring people together to the virtual gallery and hopefully celebrate some of the fantastic photographs that people have been taking, some of them sharing on Twitter and other medium, and just instigate a bit more conversation, really. That's the point of tonight: connect people together, talk about some of the fantastic places that people have taken photographs of. I guess in a way, the gallery for me encapsulates why we want to do the National Park City, because I think it's celebrated a lot of people who maybe didn't have a huge profile. A few people have been saying, oh, it's fantastic because I've been taking these photos and now other people will see them, and many of them want to use their photos to inspire other people to get out and explore green spaces and stuff like that. And we've been able to do that really without any budget for starters, because kindly the photographers have all been involved for free. And a quick mention for Chris Dennett, who's a long-standing friend of mine, but also happens to be a really talented web designer and has done all the web design stuff for no cost, just because, again, he supports the project. So big thanks to him. And this is, like I say, really encapsulates what we're trying to do, because it's not really about us as a National Park City group seeking money or looking to do our own individual projects. It's about trying to bring together all the people who are doing fantastic things, and in the light of today, that's the photographers who've taken all these fantastic photos. So I'm not going to talk too much more about that. I'm going to briefly open up the gallery and share it with you on the screen so people can see it, and I'm going to give you a quick introduction to a couple of the photographers who can't be here tonight, and then I'm going to hand over to those who are, just to give them a few minutes to talk about their photos. And then when we've done that, as we're going through, if you've got questions or just comments you want to put in, or other projects that you're related to that you think this reminds you about, put them all in the chat and we'll try and collate those, and we'll have a section towards the end to allow people to ask questions and to hopefully instigate a bit of a chat as well about what we can do next and inspire some other ideas as well. So you have to give me 2 seconds whilst I work the technology to hopefully share this with you. Many of you have hopefully seen this already, but for those that you haven't, this is the opening room to the gallery. It should have hopefully appeared on everyone's screens just now. And you can see we've got the different photographers down the side, the different rooms, and you can enter each of the rooms. You can find out more about the National Park City in the info about the gallery. And within each gallery, there's some more information about each of the photographers and what inspired them as well. So it's a simple layout, but I think it looks fantastic, and it's a really great way of just showcasing some of these some of these images and also people's ideas about the places and the national park. And the one other thing I want to just mention about that is that we really want to open this up as a resource for other people, because I think there's so many other things. We've put this together with a relatively small number of photographers, who we had connections to or who we found online. But there's a lot of scope for this to grow, to add more photographers in. Just to give you a couple of very quick ideas that we've been talking about, doing a gallery related to COP and inviting some of the people who are visiting Glasgow to take photographs and add them in, I think would be a really nice idea. Toby's going to talk in a little minute about ideas we've got for engaging schools and young people in this. One of the things I'm really keen during the lockdown for this is to be a tool to encourage people to go out and take their own photographs and share them, because I think again, many of you on the call I know will be converted in this respect, but just getting out at all into those spaces, but B, also taking those photographs is a really good way of getting people to really focus on the local places where they're visiting and I guess as a form of almost mindfulness for people to really focus down on things they maybe wouldn't notice normally in their local area. I think that's one of the things that will probably come across from a lot of the photographs that we'll see. So I'm very quickly just going to show you a couple of the galleries here. The first is from Alistair Woodburn, who I want to give a special mention to because I don't think he's on the call tonight, but some of you might be familiar with his photos of Glasgow. He's been taking photos of Glasgow for many years, and he's been a massive supporter of the National Park City because he's let us use a lot of his photos, again, for nothing. And on the, you'll see some of them on the website, actually. So you'll see there, this is basically how the gallery looks. And you'll see some of Alistair's photos. And when I first saw them, I think the thing I like about it, I mean, many of you will recognise the places. There's a lot in Glasgow Green, there's a lot in other well-known places around Glasgow. But also, I think if you show people outside of Glasgow some of these photos and ask them where it was, I don't think Glasgow would be what they would say, because there's some really, just amazing landscapes and beautiful views here. And I think that's one of the big things about the National Park City. I think it's a really good way of challenging and getting people to think differently about the city. So every time somebody joins, sometimes they come on with their sound. So just to warn you, if you're joining, just to turn your sound off. So yeah, I'm not going to go through all these photos now, and unfortunately, Alistair can't be here to talk us through. But I just wanted to give a special mention to him because he's been a huge supporter of the National Park City, and you already have access to. If you're just joining the call, if I can just ask you just to mute, because otherwise we get a bit of background noise coming through. Thank you. Yeah, what was I saying? I lost my thread there. Yeah, so this link is available obviously to all of you who are on the call now, but after this we will be making the link public as well, so that it will be available for anyone else to look at, at any time. It's going to be up for, for the near future. We've got no plans to take it down at the moment, and as I say, we'll actually add to it as well. So I say I won't take you through all these photos just now, but you can have a look through them in your own time. Some of you may hopefully have had a wander through the gallery already. The other people who aren't here, Becky, I don't think is here yet. Becky Duncan runs an organisation called OpenEye, and they do participatory photography. And the thing I love, and I was keen to get Becky to include some of her photographs, is because I think they really tell a story about the people who use our parks and green spaces. And again, I won't go through them all, but there's some fantastic photos. In fact, that one I happen to recognise because I know that person, and that's actually a volunteer on a TCV project, or not a volunteer, a staff member on a TCV project, which is actually where I work in my day job as well. And a lot of the photos, as you can see, reflect the sort of engagement between people and the spaces that we have in the city. And again, I think really challenge people's perceptions maybe of what they might think about Glasgow and our spaces. So thank you very much, Becky. She may already be here, but if not, she certainly is hoping to join us a bit later on. So she might be in the question section at the end. And I think the one other person who's not currently here is, the mysteriously titled Rider Glasgow, who I don't know if any of you are familiar with. So his photos I came across on Twitter. He's a Glasgow Deliveroo driver. We're not sponsored by Deliveroo, sadly, or else he'd have probably a bigger budget. But he takes photos whilst he's out on his bike delivering pizzas and chips around Glasgow, and posts them on Twitter. And again, he's got some great photos, which I think just give you a different side of the city. He actually takes quite a lot of photos in closes around Glasgow as well when he's delivering things, which is quite a nice, in tenement flats and closes, and getting into funny little gardens that are hidden away that you'd only get to if you're delivering. So it gives a really nice different perspective of some of the places in Glasgow. So those are the three who aren't here, and I say I won't go through them all, but I encourage you to have a look through that at another time. But I'll pass you on. I'm going to go through, hand over to some of the photographers who are here, just to give a little bit of an introduction both to themselves and to their photos. And I'm going to start with Liam, if that's okay, Liam. Perfect. So if you unmute yourself, Liam, and I'll flick through the photos, just tell me if you want me to move through them or anything.
Am I coming through now? Yeah.
Perfect.
Good. Well, I've just kind of prepared about 5 minutes worth, so I'll rattle through if that's okay. I started taking photos. I've been taking photos fairly regularly for years on my phone and video as well. I used to cycle to work for a while, for about 9 or 10 years or so. But more recently, I've been walking to work because my place of work moved much closer to where I stay. And I'm now, because of that, I'm now fortunate to be able to walk to work. And I'm doubly fortunate in the walk to work because part of it goes through the Botanic Gardens, through various bits of the Botanic Gardens and along the Kelvin Walkway as well. So once I started walking to work, I just started slowing down and becoming a bit more aware of the surroundings, so looking at the changes in nature, changing seasons. and started taking photos. So because I ended up with so many photos, I thought that I would start a Twitter account because I was actually doing a Twitter account at work at that time. So it was something I was quite familiar with. So it kind of became a journal of the daily walk to work. And I rather imaginatively called it Walk to Work Glasgow. So I thought I'd maybe run it for about a year or so and just see how the changing seasons looked. So I got into this. It's quite a wide-ranging nature network on Twitter. There's lots of photos of birds, lots of photos of flowers, all sorts of things. There are people who tramp miles and miles over moorland to find obscure weeds and wildflowers, and which is brilliant. I mean, it's wonderful. And I think the nature network there, it's quite a positive thing. It's quite a calming thing, which is important just now. So the photos I started taking they were first kind of mainly flowers and trees and the river and the sky and stuff like that. And reflections and puddles as well. So I like a good puddle reflection. But I was quite keen to look a wee bit closer. I think what fascinates me is the effect of light on everything. And I love the combinations of colours and textures and shapes in nature because they're often really, really unexpected. Stuff you wouldn't expect to see at all. But I thought I wanted to look closer. So I got a couple of macro lenses, wee clip-on lenses that go onto your phone. And that just opened up a whole new world of detail for me, really. I mean, I'm not technical at all. I've thought sometimes about maybe getting a proper camera to do this, but it's so handy, and everyone's got their phone on them these days. It's such a handy thing to have, and the quality of the photos is very good as well. I quite like the kind of soft look that I get in a lot of mine from my phone. So a lot of the images that I take are close-up. A lot of them are extreme close-up, as you can see there. That I barely saw that fly there with my naked eye. But so it's real close-ups often of that kind of insects if they stay still long enough for me to get them. Leaves, raindrops, bits of frost, things like that. Some folk have commented sometimes on the close-ups that it looks a bit like space, it looks a bit like galaxies and nebulae. And that is an interesting thing. I think quite often the closer you get into nature, it actually starts to look like something much bigger, really vast and quite infinite in a sense. For the close-up shots that I do, I often can't see what I'm doing at the time because often the sun is kind of glancing off the surface of the phone, or I'm going for a low-angle shot, or I'm stretching to get a shot. But I've kind of got to know what I'm trying to get from it, so it's kind of the eye of faith, really. And I often end up just with about 10, 12 photos of the one thing from slightly different angles. And then I'll go through them when I get back and choose the best focus, or, you know, slightly different angles or slightly different focuses. So, and the ones I've chosen for this exhibition, they're not obviously photos of Glasgow. I mean, they're not recognisably photos of Glasgow as such, because there's so many close-ups. But I think what they do is they show the detail and the beauty of nature that is all around us all the time, everywhere. And it's the important thing is actually just looking for it, trying to find it and really looking for it. So when I started the walk to work thing, I was walking to work, but then lockdown came after a while, and so I'm not walking to work anymore. I've been working from home since lockdown started last year, but I'm still going out every day to the park as often as I can to get the exercise, to get fresh air, and I take a few photos when I go out as well, obviously. So I've decided to keep the account going, and this is where we're really lucky in Glasgow, I think, because as Dom was saying just a wee bit ago there, we have this amazing network of parks and open spaces, and it's been really, really important for so many people during this last year of the pandemic. Just having somewhere safe to exercise, somewhere to slow down, somewhere to stop, and just somewhere to breathe, really. The Kelvin Walkway, I know, has been a lot busier all this past wee while, And I think a lot of people are just rediscovering the joy of going out for a wander without actually having anywhere particularly to go. And this is hugely important, as you said there, particularly now. And it's one of the many reasons why Glasgow as a national park city, to get status as a national park city, is very relevant. And in terms of both appreciating what we still have in terms of parkland at the moment, but also for safeguarding it for the future as well.
Fantastic, Liam. You've got the job. We might
Thank
employ you for the National Park City photographer. And I think Liam's, he's just summarised it really nicely. And that's one of the reasons why we were really keen to get him involved. It's your photos both are, completely ethereal and look like they're nowhere on Earth, and yet are on your walk to work. And I love that. I think, and the fact you take them with your mobile phone, I think is fantastic, because I think that's really accessible for people. And I was mentioning at the beginning about trying to get kids and young people involved, and just like you mentioned, encouraging people to get out on those little wanders in their local park. And it's just, I think it's a really great way to do that. And so, yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for talking through them, Liam, and thanks for the photos.
My pleasure.
Perfect. And on a similar theme, how you doing with child juggling, Emma? Emma said she was keen to join, but she said I might be joined by children, and I very much relate to that problem. So I'll hand over to you, Emma, but don't panic if you get joined by children. I'll just
okay, thank you. Yeah, so I'm Emma, and I recently graduated. I was studying sustainable development, and I'm a mum to the two little ones. All these photos I have taken on my phone as well, with pushing a buggy at the same time or holding a wee one's hand. So they mean a lot to me. And all of them have been taken on our walks and what we were doing, on our walks. And I've been doing the John Muir Award, and I've been volunteering for Castlemilk Park. So I used to take photos quite often, but then I had but taking photos of the species that I've been trying to ID, it just kind of gave me that wee spark again. So I've been taking photos. This one's our Jubilee Blackcap, we think. We're not sure. But if it is what we think it is, it would be like the first official recording in Scotland. So it just goes to show you what we have like hidden in our parks, and it's worth exploring and getting out there and seeing what you can find. All the photos I've picked, I think relate to why the parks are so important to like our health and well-being and the biodiversity. And this photo here, during lockdown, it was a good place for families to connect. A lot of people, have spent far more time with family members than they would normally have, and the parks have been a good place for them to go out and go for walks and bond. And it's been like that for us, so it's been good. Obviously a place for the children to run about in. Most people in Glasgow, they don't have gardens. They don't have, they might have a wee veranda or something, a wee shared space, but having the park locally has been amazing, just to go out and let them run about. Place for our pollinators, it's really important. I mean, our insects, they're like decreasing like 8 times faster than our larger animals. So we need to look after them. And this was a really good community project that happened in Castlemilk Park. And we had like local football group got together with Castlemilk Park volunteers and the housing association, and helped plant the seeds. So, it's been really good to bring people together from all sorts. And also the wilder play factor. I mean, what's better than climbing a tree? I mean, it's not too cold. Not too cold in the winter for wee hands, or it doesn't burn you in this hot sun. And I just think it's really good for kids to like go out and connect with the natural environment. So that's why I picked that wee picture there. And also a place to imagine. I mean, I find it really inspiring when I'm walking about the parks, and they do the spark the imagination. I mean, even with the kids walking by this, we're like, oh, who lives here? And who do you think lives in there? And you can make all sorts of stories. And that's why I chose that picture. Just and another one, a place to reflect. I just think going for walks and being in the park, it's just magic for like your mental health. I mean, I think it'll be hard to find a park in Glasgow that doesn't have a pond, and just like a wee walk around a pond, it's just really good. That day particularly was a really, really sunny day, and it was just lovely. But yeah, mental health and well-being really important. The same, they are a place for their senses. I mean, stand next to a waterfall and just, I don't know, close your eyes and listen, and it is really, it's just a really nice experience. And we're lucky we've got so many waterfalls around, and yeah, just like that. What else? What last one? Yep, a place to protect. I've give all my photos titles, and they make up a wee poem if you put them all together. And I think I'm going to change that one to it's our place to protect, because that's the whole, you know, that's the whole sentiment here. It's up to us. And we're so lucky to have all this on our doorstep. I mean, even my first photo there, the wee butterfly one, that's a small copper, and they're definitely declining in Glasgow because they're found on brownfield and derelict sites, especially the wee small copper there. And then that was the first time I've ever seen one, so I was really lucky that I managed to photograph it. But the more of these sites that get developed, we'll lose it from lots of parts of the city. So to find them in our parks, I just wanted to, you know, emphasize that it's really good, because then we're able to maintain and create suitable habitats for them in the future, because obviously that's why it's really important, I think, that we do make Glasgow the national park cities as well, because then it'll give us that, you know, more oomph to get in there and protect what we've got. And most people, as we know, most people in Scotland in general live in towns and cities. So it's really important that we've got the access to a variety of wildlife and all the benefits that come with it. So that's why I chose those photos, and I like them. They're all on my phone, so they're not perfect. But yeah, going out and doing my award and my volunteering, it's really brought back my spark for taking photos. And yeah, it's done us wonders. If we never had the parks, you know, locally, I mean, I don't know what we'd have done in lockdown.
I think there's a lot of us who feel like that, Emma, definitely.
Yeah, no, I know. But yeah, so we're so lucky to have the parks. But yeah.
No, that's so fantastic, Emma. Thanks so much for joining us. I know it's a bit tricky juggling kids and
I know, I'm like,
quiet on a Zoom call. You've done fantastically well.
Thank
and
you
I think again, Emma's someone else who that's the first time I've actually meeting you in person. We've been on touch a little bit on the email and talking about it. And again, like, even if I'd prepped you and said exactly what I wanted you to say, I couldn't have told you to say anything better, because that's exactly, you know, I think that's what I saw in the photos. It's just got a really lovely mixture of like that day-to-day element of you with your kids in the park enjoying it, along with that real passion for the species and protecting it. So yeah, it's fantastic. And again, like you said, taken on a mobile phone, really perfect. So thank you, Emma.
You're welcome.
Nice link. I'm going to hand on to Toby, who's actually from the John Muir Award. And Emma mentioned she's been doing this as part of her John Muir Award. So I'm just going to ask him to say a few words. Not he hasn't taken any photos, let us down, Toby, but he is going to talk to us a little bit about how we might be able to use this to engage some other people in doing some more photos and using this as a bit of a resource for other people.
Great, yeah. Thanks, Liam, and thanks, Emma. Yeah, stunning images. So yeah, Dom sort of asked me to share some ideas and thoughts as to how we could use this to inspire others. I'm not an expert at all, but yeah, we through my work we do a bit of engagement stuff with folks. So yeah, these are just some thoughts. Some might stick, some might not, but yeah, in terms of inspiring people to get involved, yeah, perhaps we could sort of think about how we can get folks to tune into nature. So, you know, asking simple questions alongside you, your friends, your family, and your neighbour. Who else lives in Glasgow? Who really resides here? What about the bugs, the beasties, the plants, etc.? Touching on that well-being aspect of that Emma was talking about, there's these 5 ways to well-being, and one of them is stopping and taking notice of beauty, finding beauty. So, you know, a simple question we could ask is, how many colours of the rainbow can you find and photograph in your city? I quite like the idea of sort of looking backwards and looking forwards. So another question could be to take a picture of your neighbourhood. What did it look like 100 years ago? And what could it look like in 100 years' time as well? I'm a big fan of scavenger hunts and treasure trails. So a simple challenge could be to take a picture that represents the 26 letters of the alphabet, or 26 pictures that represents the letters of the alphabet. But yeah, I suppose we just sort of need to be a little bit careful about people's privacy and what have you. But yeah, the final thing was perhaps maybe a slightly sort of subversive sideways look at Glasgow as well. And I quite like this is taken from Mission Explore. I don't know if folk can see that. These are a bunch of sort of geographers and campaigners and artists, and they've come together to create these missions. And there's a couple of favourite missions here that I'm just going to finish up by sharing with you. And the first mission is, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to take a picture of the most beautiful poo you can find. You know, what left it, who left it, where did it come from, where is it going? Or another one I quite like is your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to take a picture or record a murder scene. It's called Getting Forensic with Photos. Find something that has died, piece together about what happened, the cause of death, the culprit, the victims, the beneficiaries, the plot thickens. So just loads of ways that you can get really creative, encouraging people to go out, to get healthy, and to look at Glasgow in a different way outdoors. Just some thoughts and ideas.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Toby. And I think, yeah, that's an open offer, really. If people have got ideas of ways that we can use this as a resource, whether obviously we thought a lot about kids and school and homeschooling and stuff at the moment. And obviously they can use it just to get inspiration, but also we are open to, you know, whether we could add a gallery for kids' photos from Glasgow or something like that if people have got ideas. So do get in touch. Just on that Mission Explore thing that Toby mentioned, just a nice link back into the National Park City is certainly the slightly apocryphal story of how National Park Cities began is from an exercise that's in that book. Which is you get a piece of string and you declare your own national park, and you just go out and find a tiny bit of your local park or green space that you want to. And it really reminds me of some of Emma's photos again, where you're just picking out little things, and obviously Liam's as well, actually. So that's another little nice activity for those of you who are stuck at home and desperately trying to think of how you can keep your kids sane for 5 more minutes. I can relate to that problem. So I'm gonna, so the next person on the list is Michael Sweeney, but I know he's been having a bit of sound problem. I don't know whether he's managed to resolve that. Are you still here, Michael? And have you managed to get your sound working?
Unfortunately, I don't think he is in the Zoom at the moment. He's
okay.
I was trying to get back in to see if
perfect. Well, we'll move on, and then hopefully, if you can keep an eye, Scott, if he manages to get back in, and I'll invite him to come later. Do you mind going on next, Monique? Could jump forward to you. Perfect. I'll hand over to you. You just need to unmute yourself.
Yep, sorry, it took me a minute there. Yeah, thank you, and thanks so much for including me in this exhibition. I was kind of hoping to go after Becky, actually, because I wanted to say some stuff about her, but I'll just, yeah, I haven't really prepared as such, so I'll just kind of do it off the cuff. But I guess I got into photography probably quite young. My dad was always really avid bird watcher, so I really enjoyed when I got my first camera, but didn't really know anything about it until I met Becky. Who's also on the call, and I worked for her actually as a cat sitter for a while, and then while she was studying photography, and then when she started her organisation Open Eye, I assisted her for quite a long time, and it was really then that I kind of found my love for it. But when I went to work abroad for a while, and Becky actually lent me a camera, and that was probably when I started learning the most. And I was living somewhere where I was quite isolated and mostly on my own. And I suffered quite a lot with anxiety, but it really helped me just to go out in nature. And I found specifically taking close-ups of water and things that just, I don't know, it sort of had a bit of an intrigue about them, this kind of natural intrigue that made you want to just keep looking at them and really get that perfect shot of a water drop and things like that just really helped my mental health. And when I got back, I was away for about 4 months. And when I got back, I decided to study sustainable development. And again, it was I always had this thing in my mind about the work that Becky does, and she'll obviously speak more about it, but just how beneficial it was to health and well-being. And when I was studying, I kind of was just trying to grapple with this, like I know there's something in this, that this is, you know, linked to sustainable development, but I just can't quite put my finger on it yet. And then we had this amazing anthropology lecturer who talks about well-being. And it just suddenly, the penny dropped. I was like, this is absolutely it. It's all about, you know, health and well-being and really valuing nature through thinking about it differently, about how intrinsically linked we are to it and it to us, and how valuing it more can help us both to protect our own well-being and to think about protecting the environment more. And then Becky and I went on to do a few projects together specifically about that and look really closely at what the benefits were for people. And again, I don't want to say too much that she'll cover as well, but I remember when I was doing my dissertation for my master's, I went to speak to somebody who was, I think, a participant from a mental health organisation, and they'd taken part in some of Becky's workshops maybe 3 years before. And the guy said to me, you know, if I go out now and I have my camera and I take one photograph every day that I'm pleased with, I'm confident, I feel good about myself, I can keep going. And it was such a wow moment for me. It was just like, this really works, and it's really got a long-term, you know, benefit for folk. So I guess then I went on to, I've mostly worked in the third sector and mostly used photography to document projects for my own projects that I've been coordinating and for other people. So mostly of people, actually. But then I started using nature photography with a group. I was doing a community gardening project, and that's where the first butterfly image is from, actually. And it was a multicultural interfaith gardening initiative. And it was just really interesting time again, because I think it was at the same time as I was studying sustainable development, and I found this theory that was called looking sideways. And it's basically the idea that when you take a photograph, you're looking at things from a different angle, from a different perspective. You might sort of bend down and look from a, you know, a mouse eye view, or look up from a bird's eye view, or whatever it is. But that sort of theory and that idea can stretch to thinking about from somebody else's perspective. And I was doing a lot of work on anti-prejudice and anti-discrimination work, and we started to sort of bring these theories into it, and it really worked. And we found that using photography to talk about different issues and difficult issues was both cathartic and helped people to open up and really have these difficult conversations. And then again, over the years, Becky and I worked with those things together again and again. And now I think really I've started mostly just taking photos for the love of it again. I moved to East Kilbride a couple of years ago, where almost all these photos are taken. Some are in Queen's Park, the ones of the ducks and the cygnets. But I think for me, it's just, I think as Emma said, it inspires me every day. If I go out and take a photo, I feel lifted, I feel better, I feel inspired, excited about something. If I get a photo of a bird in flight, I'm like, yes, it's like a total, you get a bit of a high from it. And I think that's what keeps me doing it. But really, from moving to East Kilbride, it just helped me get to know the area I was living in, because I'd never really spent any time here before. My partner's from here, and that's why we moved here. And it just helped me to navigate and really start to feel like it was a little bit my own and beautiful. And that's really it.
Fantastic, and perfectly timed. It was I just moved on to the last photo just as you got to the end. Like we practiced, except we didn't.
No.
That's fantastic, thank you. And I think Toby, actually, I think just before you made that mental health link and mentioned the 5 ways to well-being, and I think like that's something that in my work, I think I mentioned I work for TCV, and a lot of our work is around getting people to connect to green spaces. And the more, for me personally, I think about that, the more that's actually a mental health program than it is a green space program or even an environmental program. But you mentioned it, that sort of sustainability connection, and we've talked about that a lot in the National Park City group, and that's one of the things that I feel really, really passionate about, and I hope the National Park City can help with, is I think you can only inspire so much by worrying about all the things that are going wrong. And I think I'm not downplaying any of the climate problems or the biodiversity challenges we face, but you need to motivate people by first and foremost just connecting to where they live and what they care about. And I think communication is such a massive part of that, and I think photography is really powerful in that. So yeah, thank you, Monique. Thank you for sharing that. I'm wildly off script now because I realise Becky is here. Sorry, Becky. And now Monique's teed you up. It feels like it would be a bit silly not to go over to you. So are you okay to do a couple of minutes? I know you weren't sure if you're going to make it, but I'm sure you can.
Sure. Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. Yeah.
Cool. Well, they were lovely pictures. Thanks, everybody. This is so nice to be able to sit back and look at pictures of Glasgow. So the pictures that I put up here are mostly taken for organisations in Glasgow. So I take photographs for different charities and social enterprises. This is one of Cunningar Loop, which I think was taken for Scottish Forestry Commission Scotland at the time. This is my wee boy, actually, just as he was learning to ride a bike. This is not long after Cunningar Loop had opened. There was lots of excitement about having a decent bike track and climbing boulders and stuff, and they planted loads of trees, and it made a big difference to the area, actually. So I'm quite lucky. I have a lovely job where I get to take pictures of nice people doing good things. Half the time I take pictures, and the other half of the time I do participatory workshops like Monique was talking about, and I love working with Monique on great projects. So yeah, so the pictures here is for Seven Lochs Wetland Park. Actually, this was Cardowan Moss, I think it was, a few years ago. People volunteering to make their area and spaces better, which is such a wonderful thing to witness and take photographs of. People appreciating their spaces and living in their spaces, and their spaces being theirs, which I think is really interesting to document. This is Hoggenfield Loch, my granddad and his grandson going for a walk at sunset. I find it interesting in Glasgow, all the different spaces and all the different communities that use them, and the different personalities that the parks and the green spaces tend to have. I guess it's one of the reasons I like taking pictures of people in their spaces. But yeah, the participatory photography workshops, I started doing them about 10 years ago, and it was more based on advocacy. So we would work with a group of people and they would talk about issues through photography, or they would take pictures for campaigns to raise awareness or to garner support. But the more that I did the advocacy projects, the more I realised the power, the therapeutic power of taking pictures. And in recent years, my projects have become more about that. We all know that being in nature makes you feel good. We just know it. There's lots of scientific evidence to prove that, but being in nature does make you feel good. And for many people, being creative makes you feel good. So the project Wellbeing of the Woods that Monique and I embarked on a few years ago was about marrying those two things together. So being creative in a natural environment can have a really profound effect on people, I think. So the idea of more and more people taking pictures in their green spaces and sharing them through a platform like this, I think, is a fantastic one. There's a therapeutic element for the people involved, but you also get something from looking back at the pictures. And yeah, tell us stories and raise awareness about what's out there. I think Glasgow is a truly magnificent city. The green spaces are outstanding and sometimes take people who've just arrived here by surprise, or sometimes, I'm sure during lockdown, people have discovered places around their corner that they have never noticed before. I certainly have. And yeah, it's something that just keeps giving. You can walk to a green space every day for a year and see different things because the weather's always different, or nature's always different, the seasons are always different. So the idea of really documenting these places and embracing what's there, I think, is really exciting. So when I heard about Glasgow National Park City, I just thought it was an absolutely fantastic idea. And we should be enjoying our green spaces. We should be protecting our green spaces. We should be encouraging as many people as possible to look out for the green spaces and to be aware of them, and to understand that we need nature as much as nature needs us, I think. So yeah, we could all do an awful lot more to help out. This was a picture from years ago, about 10 years ago. This is a cycle courier having a wee break with his girlfriend in Kelvin Grove Park. When you look back at the pictures, you can remember the occasion, you can remember what happened and the people involved. And it's another beautiful thing about pictures. It's basically having a visual diary to go through. And isn't it, I think it's really important to have a visual diary of Glasgow and remind us what we've got and what we shouldn't lose.
Yeah, thanks, Becky. And I couldn't agree more. And I think it's been, again, like since we started talking about this National Park City, we get really varied views, not views, but people come from all different angles with it. And some people are like, totally agree, like we should be celebrating Glasgow and it's a fantastic place. And you equally get the people who are like, we could do so much better, and the parks need better management and we need all these other things. And I don't think those two things are contradictory in any way, shape or form. You can absolutely celebrate the fantastic things that are there, and you can wish there was more and you can do more. But I think, going back to the thing I was saying about Monique's photos as well, the thing for me is you're only going to inspire people to take that action, or for council to make the budgets for them, or whatever else it is, based on that passion for it. And that's why, I think Toby just put it in the chat about your photos. I think it's what I said, Becky, when I thought you weren't here, is that people's place in those places is really important. Like, and that's what comes across from all of your photos, that they are about people enjoying those spaces and interacting with them. And we can forget that sometimes. I sometimes think that with your kind of Attenborough films or whatever else. Not that I'm not knocking David, I know he knows what he's doing, but his isn't so much about people's place in that space. It's about the space and about the natural world. And I think that's the thing about a national park city that excites me. It's where people live, it's their day-to-day life, but it's the importance of that nature and those green spaces in that. And I think that comes across really, really nicely from your photos, Becky. So thank you very much. Okay, have we got Neil? haven't seen him on my screen, but I've got a lot of people on my
Yeah,
screen.
I'm here.
Ah, you're there, Neil. Perfect.
Yes, I'm just going to try and make my camera work. I think that might do it. I don't
You're
know if
there,
I've
Neil. We
come.
see
I've
you.
never used them before, so I was going, why have I not got a picture up?
Well
Well,
done,
welcome
Neil.
to
We're
Zoom.
on
Welcome
screen
to the
now,
National
so
Park City.
we can see you.
We can see you fine, and we can hear you great, Neil.
Okay, thank you. So thanks for inviting me along to this and wanting me to participate. My name's Neil Young. Unfortunately, I'm not the singer. People had hopes that it was the singer that was on tonight. I've been living in Glasgow for nearly 30 years now. I was born in Glasgow, but my parents, I was born in Glasgow in 1970. But my parents had lived in America for 15 years. When they came back, they were appalled at how they thought a bomb had gone off or something in the city. So they just decided to go up north. So I was brought up in the northeast. But I don't know, I was always attracted to the city. And when I came back, I was just bowled over with the architecture and the layout of the place. And obviously, coming from the country, I really connected with the amount of parks the city has, and just the amazing space they are. You could, this picture here, you could, people go, oh, you need to go up to Perthshire or something like that to get fantastic autumn colours. You don't get it right here in Glasgow, you know, so it's just the diversity of the city is just what always inspired me to just go out and take pictures. This one here, she's immersed in this amazing colour and scenery, and she's on the phone. You don't know whether she's more engrossed in the phone or her surroundings or both, but I always think it's a good thing, contrast, you know. I'm going out somewhere to relax, it's probably just on a doorstep, you know. So I always like to have a look to see how people are engaging with their surroundings. These particular pictures were taken just around about 4 years ago. I was diagnosed with leukemia and I was on chemotherapy at the time, and I really had to push myself to go out, and I needed something to a target. Even if I was only out half an hour at a time, I felt I need to go to, I was trying to go to as many different parks as possible, just to push myself and get myself, you know, absorb myself around the surroundings. I had no idea what future laid ahead of me. My cancer specialist had no idea what was ahead of me at the time of I was diagnosed. So these really helped me really come to terms with the challenges I had ahead of me, and made me think more about my surroundings and what people were thinking in the surroundings as well. So a huge benefit. I hope other people utilize the parks for whatever, you know, how things hit them in particular. You're looking at this picture here, you really would not think you were in the city. And that's what I really love. You think you just walk from a busy city street and you're right there in the middle of, looks like a country scene. And I just, it just makes me want to just go out more and enjoy the surroundings. Obviously, lockdown's been very difficult, and I've not been going out with my camera. I've been just using my phone, and it doesn't really matter what medium you've got. They all phones nowadays are amazing, cameras on them as well. So, and it's just nice to see people. Oh, I'm going to take a slack line with me, and I'm going to go for a wee, try and make a fool of myself in public, you know. But it's just nice to see. And then this last one, is at Lynn Park, way other end of the city. I would have never ever have thought of going to Lynn Park, and that is a stunning place as well. Just amazing, just like being out in Perthshire, somewhere like that. It's so nice. So it's just everything about how there's so many parks throughout the whole city. There's generally one quite near wherever you are. They're so diverse, and it's just one of the many aspects of what makes Glasgow such an amazing place.
Perfect. Thank you, Neil. There's a common thread in the comments that that your photos make people remember paintings.
Yeah.
Turn has been mentioned a few times, I think, and
All right.
they look like paintings, and they are beautiful. And exactly as you said, like a few people have mentioned, like who would believe it's in Glasgow, and yet when people look closely, they'll recognise lots of places they know, I'm sure, because again, these places are sort of just scattered around the city, and there's so many of them, and I think that's what your photos bring across really nicely. You look at it first, and like you say, you think you're looking at Perthshire or you know, somewhere in Canada or something, and then you think, oh no, that's not, that's Kelvin Grove, or that's and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Neil. Thank you very much.
I'll try and mute this.
Perfect. So I don't think unless Michael's managed to get his sound working, I just want to quickly whiz through his gallery, and unfortunately I won't be able to talk about it with anywhere near the knowledge that he would. And Scott, maybe you might join me, because I think you know Michael and I don't. So you might be able to say a bit more about him. And sorry, Michael, your sound's not working, but
yeah, unfortunately, Michael's not been able to get his audio to work. But I suggested he maybe, as we go through his gallery, if he can put any sort of comments that he might want to make in the chat. So if you want to keep an eye on the chat,
will do, yeah,
alongside this. But I met Michael up at Hogganfield Park in Glasgow, and he's been taking a huge number of photos around the park and around northeast Glasgow during lockdown. And we've actually got some of his photos on display at a kind of outdoor gallery project up at Hogganfield Park. So I think most of these photos are from sort of around the northeast of Glasgow out to Barons Hall on the edge of Hamilton along the River Clyde.
Yeah, and actually just mentioning that, that's another little idea that we've got, which we're working on. Haven't told any of the photographers about this yet, so I'll have to ask their permission, obviously. But we'd really love to do that, to get some of these out into a space in the city somewhere, into a park or something. So yeah, we'll keep working away on that, because I think that would be a lovely thing. And even if it's not all the photos, maybe a connection to this site, because I think a few people have mentioned it's lovely to have that kind of repository of a lot of different images. And obviously you can't put all those up in a public space, but if we can get somewhere to link this, I have a few sites in mind, but I can't say yet because I don't know if they're going to happen. But fingers crossed, that would be, I think, a great thing. That's another example of like.
If you click back to the previous one, Dom, of the signet, which was taken this spring up at Hogganfield Park, that's actually an image that has made its way, I think, into the Evening Times as one of their sort of lockdown highlights. And I think just the way we've captured the droplets coming off the signet as it shakes its head is great.
Absolutely. So I realise time's pressing on. We said we'd only be here for another 9 minutes, and it feels like that time's gone really fast. So I just want to, I don't know, Scott, if there's any particular questions that have come out, if anyone's got any questions, either they want to put in the chat or stick your hand up and unmute yourself, because I want to give people a chance just to feed in. There've been some fantastic comments, and again, we'll try and capture some of those in the chat as well. And just really on the same thing that we've been talking about how valuable it's been, both the photographs themselves, how much people have enjoyed them, but also people reflecting on how important those spaces have been, particularly through lockdown and celebration of Glasgow. And that's really fantastic. That's exactly what we wanted to engender. So thank you for everyone who's put comments in there. I don't know if, Scott, if there's anything come up particularly as a theme or any questions.
A couple of things that have come up. One is was whether there was scope to add further photographs to the gallery, but unfortunately I think the person that asked that question has had to leave. But I think there is scope to add new rooms to the gallery. So if people have photographs that they'd like to share, or if you know of other photographers that might be interested, I think you would be welcome to get in touch with us, and I'll stick our contact in the chat. our email contact. And another thread I think that's come through the chat is people thinking about maybe other ways of sharing their love of some of Glasgow's green spaces, some of the opportunities to get out into nature in Glasgow, either through podcasts or through walks, like sharing information about walks that people have discovered during lockdown. And I think those are great ideas of other ways for people just to share and help open people's eyes to what's available within their local area and within their city. So as Dom says, we'll pick up some of the comments that we made in the chat, and they could potentially inspire other Glasgow National Park City projects. I don't know if there's any comment you want to make on that, Dom.
No, other than to completely agree with you. That's the whole point, really. I think we see this hopefully as a starting point, not just through the gallery. And I think I'm looking, because I see Chris is actually on the call and he's probably thinking, oh God, I'm going to get like 50 more galleries to add. when are you going to start paying me something for this? But it's all right. He's on mute, so he can't say that. So I think absolutely we're really open to doing that stuff, but not just with the gallery. I think, like people have mentioned, poetry, podcasts, like any other ways that we can get of just encouraging people to engage in the idea, really. And that might not be necessarily through this gallery. As a group, that's kind of really what we're all about. It's about trying to encourage those things to happen and find ways that we can make them happen and connect people together. And like I said right at the beginning, I mean, this project so far has been a prime example of that. Like, you know, out of just the generosity of all the people been involved, I think we've produced something that I think is really special. I mean, like it's been so nice tonight. I don't mind oversharing that it's been a really difficult, stressful day, stuck on Zoom meetings and stuff. And the last thing I wanted to do was join another one. And it's been absolutely fantastic. And I think that's exactly what we want to engender, just sharing that enthusiasm. And there's so much more scope for that. I saw some of those ideas coming through about adding poetry, sharing poetry, podcasts and stuff. And I think those are all really good ideas. And I think it just encourage people to get in touch with those. And through the website, which I think Scott already put in the chat, but maybe he'll put back in the chat again, through our main website. If you just want to get in touch and share ideas, I guess I have to give the expectation management that we're all doing this voluntarily as well. We don't have any budget, we don't have any people, but we made this happen and we're keen to make other things happen. So, you know, I really encourage you to get in touch, and we'll try and work out ways to make some more things like that happen, because I think it's so important. And I think starting at that base level of people's local parks, getting them to take local photos, talk about the places they care about, is just so important. And I think it's a voice that doesn't get heard enough. So I think that's what we're really keen to get that out there.
Yeah, I put the email address and our website in the chat. If you want to follow those links or want to get in touch with us. I think one of the other comments that's come up a couple of times that I just wanted to mention is a couple of people have commented on whether any of these images would potentially be for sale. And I think all of the images belong to the photographers that took them. I think within the biographies we've got in the gallery are people's social media contacts. So if you did want to get in touch with any of the photographers to find out whether they would be interested in selling any of their work, then there is the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, just to show people, for those who haven't looked around, whenever you're in any of the galleries, there's the information button here. And if you click there, you'll get more basically biographical information about the photos or the people. And there's always, I think on all cases, there's at least a link to either a Facebook page or a Twitter page or wherever people have asked us to link to. So again, that's not something that the National Park City Group are looking to sell pictures or anything like that, but we're really keen just to link you up. But even if it's just for project ideas and stuff, I know you know, people will be interested to connect as well. So yeah, please do that as well. Okay, I think to just wrap up, because it is nearly 1:30, and I think it's been a fantastic hour. Just really to thank everyone who's been involved. Another quick word to Chris. Thanks so much for all the web work. For I don't know what you're expecting to get, but you're getting nothing. So thanks for that. Thank you for all the photographers. Like, just some beautiful images. Honestly, I didn't know when I sort of vaguely came up with this idea about a month ago what we would end up with, and I'm pretty blown away by the quality of the images and the enthusiasm which people have put stuff forward. And I think hopefully it's really engendered that sort of conversation we wanted to, which is a bit of a celebration of the importance of those places. But I hope it's also inspires people to do some more. I think that's really important, like to, you know, go away, take one of those ideas. I'm just going to make a podcast. I'm going to set up a new gallery. I'm going to take this to my school and suggest why don't they use it as an activity for their school to take some photos. I really encourage you to do that. We'll really be very, very happy to try and help. one last thing just to say is I shared the link just with the guys who are on the call tonight, but I will, over the next few days, I'll make this link available through our social media and through our website as well, and then it will just be freely available for anyone to have a look through and wander around. So please do pass it on, share it, and if you found it useful tonight, a little tweet about the National Park City. It's a really important year for us. I think there's huge potential to gather a lot of momentum with COP coming to Glasgow and really, you know, having that strong voice of celebrating all the great things happening in the community. So please tell someone else. We've got over 50 people on the call tonight, which is fantastic. So if you all tell one person, that'll probably double our social media coverage. So please do that. And yeah, thanks very much. Hope you all have a nice evening, and thanks so much for joining. The silent Zoom clap is my favorite kind of clap. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very nice.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for putting that together. Really, really good evening.
Thanks, Scott.
And thanks to all the photographers too for sharing your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that
Thanks
was
very
great.
much.
Thanks.
Really
very much.
brilliant.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Fantastic. Thank you.
See, if you ask for praise, you always get it. That's the way to do it.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Cheers. Take care, everyone.
Cheers. Well done, Dom. Well done, everyone involved. Yeah, really, really enjoyable.
Really good. Really good. Really good night. And that's end for